The real me. Joining the world of work can lead to some big questions. This series is about finding the answers.
How can I, as a young black female, have a voice?
What should you do if you feel out of your depth?
How can I inspire others?
How can I be me at work?
Two people, two different stages of their careers, real conversations and real experiences. This is the Rolls-Royce, the real me. In this episode, Toby and Alex discuss impostor syndrome and how to beat it.
Okay, I'm Toby. I'm a Materials Laboratories Degree Apprentice. I'm in the second year, and I'm really enjoying my time at Rolls-Royce at the moment. So.
Nice to meet you, Toby. I'm Alex,
Nice to meet
and
you.
I am the Director of our People Services world, so that's all things people-y, recruitment, global mobility, learning, case management, reward, lots of different bits and pieces in there as part of our group business services. And I've been at Rolls-Royce for 10 years.
10 years, yeah. So what made you what made you choose Rolls-Royce, really?
Oh, good question. So I started at Rolls-Royce as an intern 11 years ago, and then came back as a graduate. And I kind of started, I guess, a bit by fluke. I got an advert as part of the university recruitment drive.
Okay.
And it described someone that I thought I might like to be, someone that was bold and liked working with other people on some of the biggest problems that we face in our industry.
So you wanted to develop yourself into that person then? You saw yourself as an opportunity to grow?
One of the funny things when I was having the conversation about setting this up, it was framed as someone in their early career was having a conversation with a leader. And my question was, brilliant, who's the leader? And I think in that, I've been with Rolls-Royce for 10 years and I started as a graduate. And I think that time has flown by, but I've also had brilliant experiences. But inside, I still feel like that grad that started on their first day. Definitely, definitely. What about
Brilliant.
you? What attracted you?
So I was originally looking at uni and applying through all that and UCAS, and then I decided it doesn't really work. I'll have a look at apprenticeships, and Rolls-Royce was one that commonly came up, and so I thought I'd give it a go, and I managed to get it. And it sounded really interesting. Materials wasn't something I'd done before, not something I'd heard of, so it was very much something, everything would be new to me, and I could go at it with a open-minded and clean slate. And then you have the two different sides to it as well, so they each have a different story with uni and work itself. So.
And how do you balance doing university as well as work? Both of them seem really full on.
Yeah, both of them are full on. First year is 1 week of uni and then 1 week of work, so it's a little bit more balanced. Then you've got more time in the week to do uni, and then in the second year and up, that's 1 day of uni a week, so that's a little bit more pressure, but you've got evenings and you've got other time where you can at work allocate yourself to do uni work. And yeah. Yourself, how are you balancing work and life, and how's that working?
Oh, good question, good question. So I came back from maternity leave earlier this year, so I've got a little boy who's nearly 16 months old, and I don't see it as balance because it's not in balance. Nothing's in balance. I see it more as a blend, and we've got to blend those lines together in a way that feels comfortable. And I have some days where I get it wrong and I prioritise one thing over the other, and I have some days where I get it right and I feel like I can go to bed at night and think, yeah, I did it right today. And I guess that's part of the learning, but I'm definitely not getting it right, and I'm very privileged to have an incredible partner who helps me in navigating how we blend those two things together. What about you? What support have you had with work?
Yeah, okay, so we have a leader called an ADL, Apprentice Development Leader, and they oversee us throughout our entire apprenticeship, and they are pretty much our main contact in terms of any information that you need, any help that you need in terms of sorting out uni, but then also as well you can go and talk to them about any issues you've got, and they can offer you advice, and they're just a good sort of person to make sure you're keeping everything on track and you're not struggling, you're not falling behind, so they're really good.
Definitely. And I guess with learning journeys and joining an apprenticeship, there's an awful lot going on, I guess, in life as well as at work. Have you ever felt out of your depth in any of that?
Yeah, so I had to move up quite a long way to join Rolls-Royce. I'm originally from Godalming, so I've moved up quite a long way, and moving at 18 and getting started at full-time work with uni on the side as well, it's a big step. Yeah, so I talk to my parents quite frequently. They've been really helpful, especially with me finding out that I'm autistic, but them being big points of contact for me. They can help me figure out what I'm thinking when I sometimes can't. And then people in Rolls-Royce as well. You've got the ADLs who are very understanding. They absolutely do take care of you, and they do check in on you as well. And they can fight for your extra support that you may need. Yeah, yourself, do you have any points of contact that you really think, like if you're really struggling?
Definitely, and I guess I feel out of my depth quite regularly, but on a range of issues, and I think there's something about if you're stretching yourself enough, you're always going to feel a certain amount out of your depth, because that means that you're on that edge and you're learning. But I've absolutely got people that I lean on and that I trust, whether that be my family. My parents definitely know me better than most people in this world, and some key contacts in work, and those WhatsApp groups that you can fire off the message in that moment of doubt, and you know that people are coming to come back and support you with that. So exercise is a really good way for me to process my thoughts. Some of my teams previously have said it's dangerous when I go on a long bike ride, because I come back with all of these ideas because I can process what's in my head. I also do a lot of journaling, so where I just write down whatever's going on in my head in a bit of a stream of consciousness, so just exactly how it is in my head. Get it all down so that I can organise my thoughts, because sometimes it can feel quite chaotic in there.
Yeah, I absolutely understand that. So that's something with me is I've been, ever since I've learnt that I'm autistic, it's been very helpful to make myself lists of everything that's going on. My mum and I've given it a term called mind dumping, and it's just getting your brain out there, and it suddenly feels like you've got a lot more room inside your head to think about stuff, and to think about stuff outside of work as well. You know, you've got all potentially hobbies that you want to do, and so there's a lot more than just work and learning. So it helps it all fit in there, really.
That's a really good technique, and I like the phrase mind dumping. I might pinch that from you.
You're welcome to.
You mentioned a couple of times your diagnosis of autism. Do you mind talking about that a little bit? Don't feel any pressure.
So it was around the time trying to understand why I'm experiencing things differently to everyone else, and that's when it kind of cropped up, and it's been a long journey through then, you know, with the whole hold-ups of being able to get tested. There's a long wait list, but it's mostly been my own research and having a look at what I can be doing. Other people who have known about it for longer, they've come up with their own techniques to deal with stuff, and looking at that and saying, that'll work for me, or no, that won't work for me. And so that's pretty much been what it is so far.
Wow, it's quite a major thing to go through, actually a bit of a later stage in your life, and to work out how that impacts how you see the world. Yeah,
but I think another thing as well is being able to be myself at work and do my own things, taking a short break every now and then to either listen to music or do one of my hobbies, which is cubing.
Okay, is that why we've got this little thing here with us?
That's why we've got it there.
How fast can you do one of these?
So that one's a 7x7. I can do that in about 4 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've been doing it quite a while. I've been doing it since 2014. It's it's just stuck with me. I love doing them. It's one of my comfort things, really. It means I don't think about other things, so I can just do one of those every now and then.
In a way, it's a technique for mindfulness, really, because you're just really focusing in the moment on what you're doing in front of you, parking everything else that's going on in your brain.
So slowly got back into it, and I thought, perhaps I can really use this as a tool to help me learn social skills, and to help me understand different, like the people at Rolls-Royce who I'm working with. So have you ever experienced imposter syndrome?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you give me an example of that and how you dealt with it?
Oh my goodness, an example. So I would say imposter syndrome is something I probably struggle with on a daily basis, if not a weekly basis. And it shows up in various different ways. And some of those ways lead to kind of a self-doubt within myself on what I can do and what I'm here to do. And I think I've suffered with imposter syndrome for quite a long time. I also think a lot of other people suffer from imposter syndrome, but they just don't talk about it. And I think for me, it's that inner voice within me that becomes unhelpful in questioning my worth, why I'm here to do what I'm doing, why I'm in a certain job. So I moved into the role of Director of People Services coming back from maternity leave. Why? What made me the best candidate for that role? And actually, maybe it was fluke, maybe it was luck, maybe they didn't know where else to put me in the organisation. Or maybe it's because through an application process I was the right person for the role. But that voice in my head is really small. It's a really small voice. And I have it on big things, so like my role, and I have it on small things like the decisions that we make every day. I had some coaching a few years ago because it was quite crippling, and that was one of the things that Rolls-Royce did to help me. They supported me with some coaching. And this coach used to make me think about, well, what is the unique bit that I bring to a situation that nobody else is going to bring? And that can be as small as you bring the energy, you bring the smile, or it could be a really interesting perspective that nobody else has understood, a different piece of learning. And actually by just reframing it and saying, well, what do I bring that nobody else brings to this scenario, really helped. The other thing she said was she often put an empty chair in front of me, and she would coach me to say, well, what would I say to me if we were having this conversation?
Be your own sort of therapist.
Be your own therapist and counsel, yeah. And so sometimes when I get in those situations and the unhelpful thoughts outweigh the helpful thoughts, I sometimes think, what would I do if, like this, I was sat opposite myself? And you probably wouldn't be nearly as critical as you are to your own self.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. And I think as well, it's quite interesting to see how you've not really experienced it from comparing yourself to others, and more so it's what you think about how well you're doing. And I think that's just quite an interesting way of how you've dealt with it, you know, being able to teach yourself, like, actually, no, it's not that bad.
I hadn't actually appreciated that perspective, but that's really interesting. Mine's not to do with comparing myself to others, actually. Mine's all in
your own head.
All in here, and a comparator against what people think I should be or what I think I should be, rather than what others are doing. What about you? Have you experienced imposter syndrome?
Yeah, yes, I have, and I've definitely noticed it whilst I've been here in terms of uni. So I did a BTEC in engineering at college rather than regular 3 A levels, so I didn't do A-level maths, and through that at uni it's really quite evident that, you know, everyone else, they're all getting everything immediately, or they've already done it, you know, especially in the first year, and I'm there brand new to it, essentially. And so mine was very much, I'm comparing myself to others, and looking at my own progress and thinking like, I shouldn't be here, I don't belong with these people, you know, these people they deserve to be at Rolls-Royce, they've worked hard, they've achieved all these amazing grades at A-levels, and they've done more than me. I don't really have anything I can do here. And then I think the way I dealt with it was just being able to tell one person, just one person, just tell everyone that one person your concerns, and as you talk about it, you solve your own situation. As you say it out loud, you realise, like, oh, I haven't thought about that one way to think about it, and this way as well. And by the time you get to the end of the conversation, I've regularly found out I've solved my own problem.
Yeah. And actually comparing yourself to others in the degree classroom is 1 day in 5, did you say earlier?
Yes, yeah, at the moment.
So actually 20% of your week, what's happening the rest of the time? How are you adding value the rest of the time? Because you said something in there that actually kind of hurt me, that made me feel like I didn't belong. And I think that's something that people go through in different ways for different reasons. But it's interesting that you feel like you've kind of come through that. So if I ask a question, how well do you think you belong now? What would you say?
So I've recently started a new placement, and there's obviously it's a little bit difficult getting used to the new workload and changing, pretty much the entire team you work with. So there is that changeover period. But I think now that I understand who I am a bit more, and now that I've found out what sort of role I have in Rolls-Royce, since I've actually started doing work and everything, it's I do feel like I do have something different to offer. I have different perspectives and that people don't think about with the way my brain works. So I do feel like I can add value to this.
So using your brain as a real asset as we evolve in the future.
Yeah.
Well, that's an incredible asset to have.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I found that really, really cool to see, from somebody who's been in Rolls-Royce for so long and knowing where I can get to and how I can develop in my apprenticeship.
And thank you, Toby. Thank you for being so open and honest and sharing where you're at. I think that bodes really well for your future career development. And if you ever need any support, let me know. I'd be really happy to help.
Thank you, Alex and Toby, for sharing your experiences. And thank you for tuning in. To find out more about starting your career at Rolls-Royce, check out our socials or search Rolls-Royce Early Careers. Be real, be curious, be ready, be you. Be Rolls-Royce.